to deal with, which is current, is yesterday's incident in Khayelitsha, where police, on following suspects, they were met with gunfire when they identified the home where they needed to do a search. And they were met with gunfire, and they then had to defend themselves by firing back. And on doing so, they left a number of people dead, 5 dead, which increased in the course of time. I think it increased to 8. And then, other than that, they arrested others. Now, it's important that we mention this because I must mention 5 AK-47s were found there. AK-47s. Now, this is a very high caliber weapon, and it's related to war. You don't carry. It's not a knife. It's an AK-47. 5 of them. And then there was also an R1. There were also another assortment of weapons. And all in all, the group was around 20, if not 21, who were caught there. And all of them, on seeing police approaching, they responded by gunpower. Now, I read a newspaper called the Sunday Tribune, and I picked up 2 things there. There was a phrase that was used, I think, by the journalists who wrote that, talking about trigger-happy police. Trigger-happy police. They don't talk about trigger-happy criminals. They don't talk about trigger-happy other criminals other than those who get caught in sins, in crime sins that form the context thereof. A number of crime sins in the near past in KZN. And then they start raising those. We're in a democratic country. We accept different opinions in whatever situation you find. But I think media need to give police, South African police, space. We can't be complaining about everything. You complain about high rising or high levels of crime, and we condemn police for not acting. And when they act and they get prevented from acting via shootings at them, and then when they protect themselves, defend themselves, and then we're the ones who come forward immediately. And we totally say nothing about communities that from time to time fall victim of such killing gangs. Nothing, absolutely nothing. About trigger-happy police. It's unfair. It is factually wrong. But we have identified those people who are raising concerns. We will meet them because we're in a democratic country. We're not just going to talk as we talk, but we'll meet them and say, from which crime scene are you developing? Because if you were there, you've seen that police are now being shot at, and they can't do any other thing. They have to defend themselves. And what happens in the process is a different matter altogether. So we welcome what police did in Khayelitsha yesterday, because they got intelligence information about what would have been a CIT, no, not a CIT. Yes. It was going to be an attack either on business or whatever that they were planning to attack, and they were intercepted. And that is the duty of police, to intercept crimes so that we bring the number down. But we will also welcome the seizure of those firearms, as we say, I mean the rifles, including an R1, and so on. Those are very high caliber weapons, and we welcome that those were seized, including pistols and all of that. Now, but we are here in the ANC Lekgotla. Three of the matters that dominated our discussions in the commissions, and speaker after speaker did say, I come from a particular community. I have an experience of what I'm talking about. I'm picking up from social media. I'm picking up on the concerns that the public are raising, of which I'm part. The first one is the murder rate in the country, which is something that has been raised quite sharply when we were dealing with the budget debates in Parliament, raised by the two houses of Parliament, both National Assembly and NCOP. They were asking those questions. They were raising those issues, saying that South Africa appears to be in a situation where you could say, we could ask a question whether the police are in control of the crime situation in the country, or this is now out of control. The speeches and the questions ranged between those two questions, which were directed at us. Is crime rate under control? Could police come forward and say, no, things are under control? Or maybe we need to make a statement and say things are out of control. Our response was, the current situation is not out of control. But we were also saying it's also not really under control. It's not under control either. But it's somewhere in between the two. And that's our worry, because we should be saying outright and with confidence the situation is under control. We will be misinterpreted if we say so because of the rate of crime in the country, various crimes. Now, it's murder in terms of types of crime that we're worried about. And two, the proliferation of guns, illegal firearms, but also legal firearms. We're worried about that. But together with that, we are worried, extremely worried about the extent to which the country has availability of drugs, various drugs. You now go to a community and they tell you that the dominant drug here is cocaine, there it's another, and so on. And so they even know what drugs are dominating, what drugs are running in the taxi ranks, that are running on the roads, how they are being brought into the country by individuals, by groupings of people, and all of that. Now, so murder and drugs are our priority, but not that alone. Of late, we're seeing kidnappings and extortions also on the increase, but it also is taking our attention to the foreigners in our country, illegal foreigners and undocumented foreigners. So you sometimes follow a case of kidnapping, and you land on, like in the case of Ethiopians in Gauteng, 90 of them, all of them undocumented. But you are following a kidnapping issue. You follow on others on the other day on drugs, and then you land on kidnapped people, and so on. So it's murder, it's drugs, it's kidnappings, and people who are undocumented, who are in the country, who we are worried about. But of course, there are also issues of camps that may or may not be legal, like in the case of the Mpumalanga camp, which though legal in terms of SIRA processes, but what was happening inside there was illegal. It's not difficult to understand. You may have a house in a suburb, which is there legal and it's known, and the tenant or the owner is paying rates, and it's normal. But what is happening inside the house is totally illegal. So it's just like that in the case of Mpumalanga. And I'm sure my colleague Njabulu will talk about that. But what are we doing about this? Because this is what is the main focus. I've already said that this is our priority as a Ministry of Police and the police themselves. We are on phones throughout the day and many hours at night, discussing this and that and so on. On murder, there are various units that are out there, including in the Western Cape, and they were part of what happened there. Anti-gang, anti-drug, those units that are specialized. But of course, there is also intelligence that is involved there, crime intelligence, and one or two other specialists who combine to detect and then to deal with crime and such. But of course we know, sitting here, that we have a challenge of low detection rate. It's because of the need for us to, for that reason we've identified the need to strengthen crime intelligence, which we are aware needs a review of the budget, which we certainly are going to do when the time for that arises somewhere down the line. We will have to review that and add much more. But I know police on their own, they are recruiting and they are adding a few personnel, about 1,000 or so in crime intelligence. And that's important to strengthen our capacity there, that side of policing. But I've mentioned the presence of various units that are intervening in 4 provinces. It's Western Cape, it's Gauteng, it's KZN, it's Eastern Cape. Eastern Cape and KZN have a problem also of stock theft. There are also incidents of carjackings and CIT. This is cash in transit. We'll combine them, and they are a worry to us. So we are focusing on these packages of crimes, and they are now performed by gangs. That includes gangs terrorizing communities during the night and rob them of their essentials and so on. So that we're putting together, and we are dealing with that. We need to increase capacity, but we also need to increase other areas of attending to such things. Now, we want to send a warning out there that, again, people, gangs or individuals, if you point a gun, and indeed you shoot at police, you must not expect that police are not going to respond to you on 2 fronts. One, they need to defend themselves. The police are human beings. They are not stones. They are not rolling stones. They are fathers and mothers of their children. They are husbands and their wives. They are relatives of people. They are real human beings. So they can't just give themselves up to criminals. There's no way they will do that. They need to defend themselves. But the second front, they need to survive so that they defend the community against another criminal tomorrow. So they need to spare themselves so that tomorrow they are available, so that they protect all of us, including whoever out there. So we encourage them to be quite alert on those 2 fronts, and we support them, and we welcome things like what happened there, and so on. Now, that's the first thing that we tackled. Now, I must say that as far as camps are concerned, we've given instruction that We must run through the country and really do an investigation. Now that investigation is underway to determine whether we don't have camps that are like the one that we found in Mpumalanga. That is underway. And that one, you know about 95 Libyans who are in the custody, and process is underway on that one. But just one small area which is receiving our attention immediately after this. We are going to have to meet with, have an urgent meeting between SAPS and border management. Because we think that if that meeting could take place and agreements get reached, we will have a better dispensation in terms of border management once we operate on the basis of that agreement. There is an aspect that is outstanding which require tying in. And so there's a tangible thing that we are doing. Of course, there will be other aspects that will have to be tightened. And the last thing that I want to talk about, which arose here, is the importance and centrality of partnerships. There's no way that South African police and the Department of Police will work alone. We are talking about about partners vertically. That has something to do with spheres of government. And we're talking horizontal. That has to do with sister departments at all levels, national, local, and even in communities. Our target are the police resources that are in some metros, in the form of metro police. In Gauteng, Cape Town, Gqeberha, Durban, all of that. We're going to be meeting all of those. We've already met Cape Town, and processes and discussions are underway, so that we formalize this partnership and then increase our capacity. With one policeman, for instance, and with one van or something like that, we want more via resources that are there, so that we align against criminals. We stand on one side, criminals on one, and on the other side, and we train all our resources directly against criminals. Increase the number and other aspects of policing, ensuring in the process. We're chasing safety of individuals, safety of families, and safety of communities wherever they are. But on the ground, we are seeing many communities getting interested in working with us as individuals, but in their formations, whether it's community policing, whether it is neighborhood watches, and other formations that are there, all of them. We are finalizing a model that we think will be effective, so that we all stand up for our safety, supported by any other structure, but also supported by government, and in particular by SAPS, so that we form networks of defense against communities. In some areas like Gqeberha, we're seeing a lot of terror to communities. And we're going to bring this to a stop not long after we've held this meeting. But we need to rush to meet with our sister letters are out, for instance, with social development. We want an urgent meeting with our sister department there, with a call that where we want social workers attached to every police station, not only to work on the police station, but to communities around those police stations, or from a social worker perspective. Police only come once the law has been broken, not before it is broken. So we think that there's undue pressure on police when it comes to GPV and F. Yes, we have a job to do there, and even to drive it down. But we think we need to be combining our resources together with social development. The meeting will be about that. The meeting with correctional services will come. A lot of crimes are now committed right inside police cells. Some of us in this meeting here are victims of crimes that were committed by serving criminals, where they are allowed to plot their various gadgets, get brought into them, and including murders by people. So a prison must be a prison in South Africa, not a luxury where you coordinate anyone for whatever crime, which is the worst thing. You are not coordinating church services. You are coordinating crimes to murder people while you are sitting in jail. Some people have become famous while sitting in jail, doing life sentence and all of that, because of their so-called power to coordinate from a prison. So we will be discussing such matters. Criminal justice system need to be reviewed so that we tighten up where we need. So we will be having a series of meetings with sister departments. Now at this stage, I need to appreciate the opportunity. If there are other themes or other issues, we'll get it from you. And police is saying I need to talk about camps. I've already done so, and corruption. Well, corruption, we need each other there once more, especially with the Department of Justice. We think that together with their SIU and then our Hawks, there's a lot of headway that is being made. Whatever sophistication in terms of these crimes, they are able to work equally to that. It may not have reached the levels that it needs to, but they are at work, hard at work. But of course we know that there's a lot of work, as I've indicated, that we need to do with Department of Justice. And we're expecting that in the next few months, we should be reviewing some of the things in terms of coordination to tighten up space for corruption. South Africa can't sink just because of the activities of a few people who are greedy, who are out there on greed. And this includes construction mafias. And I'm talking about mafias. We have a plan for that, and it just need to complete it and refine it. Because it's becoming a character of a situation that is not desirable in the country. Everybody's talking about this. We don't want to be talking about this. We want to arrest it. We want to bring it down. And so we are giving notice out there for those. But we do want to say, people who feel they are victims of mafias, construction mafias, they need to open up cases so that police can act. It doesn't help to phone us and say what type of mafias here and so on, but you don't open a case, because we can't just go, and police can't just go to you because you are regarded as a mafia, and they can't police them when they go to construction site at that time. So we want authorities to open up cases and so that we can follow. But I'm saying that it's a type of corruption. It just is as corrupt as those that are the trend of the so-called protection fees. We're hearing about Mthatha, we're hearing about Gauteng, we're hearing about all of this. And this includes making mama who are selling whatever they are selling on the side of the road for their children and families, made to pay extortion fees by gangs and so on, who are enjoying the sweat and toil of poor people. We are there, we are getting to the space, and we're giving notice once more that there's a complaint and an outcry throughout the country about this, and we can't leave people alone, exposed to this kind of criminality. The name of that thing is crime. And it's an invitation to police and ourselves as the department to tackle it. Tackling it, we will. We are out there and on crime intelligence, collecting as much information as possible throughout the country, including in the Western Cape. It is there, and we'll tackle it. At this stage, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Comrade Senzo. Now I will call Comrade Nzuza to talk about the immigration issue. That we have the Libyans and the Ethiopians, and I think people are worried about the safety of our country. We are ready and we know what we need to do. Comrade, if you can come this side.
Thank you very much, Comrade Polly, the chair of the Peace and Stability Subcommittee, and greetings to my colleagues and the members of the media. Firstly, I would just like to deal with one issue which is part of the burning platforms, as the spokesperson indicated that we'll deal with those. We welcome the arrest of Judy Zuma, who has been sentenced to 12 years, with 24 years suspended. This is a recent matter which we had been pursuing for quite some time, wherein we heard previously that there are people who were colluding with foreign nationals to give them documentation in the form of passports. Now, Judy Zuma had actually issued about 192 passports over the period from May to June 2021. We believe that this is a very significant development because we have a number of cases where we have been arresting people who have been colluding with illegal foreign nationals to give them documentation. Now, we are saying this because it marks our commitment in dealing with whatever collusion that allows illegal people to enter the country. And that is why on the issue of Mpumalanga and other issues where you have had people being caught here in the country illegally, where as Home Affairs we are definitely going to investigate those matters, which shows our seriousness in dealing with them. And you will know that when you do these investigations, just like in the case of Judy Zuma, you do not want to take all your weapons on how you are dealing with these criminals and catching them and everything and the back end of your investigations, because you want results. And when you become a bit unfocused on wanting results, then you won't snap them. So this is a call also to other people who are involved that, you might think you are getting away with it, but we'll definitely get you, and we'll definitely make sure that you suffer the consequences, just like the person in question. Now, we are here on the Lekgotla, and part of the issues that have really taken center stage, which are of interest to the organization and as well as the country, are issues of immigration. And everybody asks, what are we doing with the border environment of the country? Our borders porous? Are there any interventions that we are making? There have been long interventions that have been made, particularly at a policy level driven by the ANC. We start off with the introduction, as Comrade Maqingwane here was saying, that we need a good working relationship with the police, with the Border Management Authority, which was an institution that was conceptualized here. It went from paper just in 2019. A few months ago, we were sending out a cohort of about 400 border guards. So that shows that the issue of borders is really receiving attention. And again, in this Lekgotla, that particular issue came out quite strongly. Capacitation of the Border Management Authority. We're expecting to have about 11,115 personnel sent through our borders, as well as in the management of our borders. We've only been able to send about 2,566. So we are saying that we need to capacitate the Border Management Authority so that it is able to carry out its functions, working closely with the police and other law enforcement institutions, because you will remember that when it comes to the border fence, you have the defense, you have public works and infrastructure that is responsible for making sure that there are barriers, and also defense to make sure that there are no external threats that come into the country, and the BMA facilitating the movement of people, working with SARS to make sure that customs, effectively goods that come into the country are legal. Now we are moving from a perspective that says you can't grow the economy of the country if the country is not secured. If you don't have proper security to secure the country, then you have a problem. If you have 100 million worth of cigarettes coming through Bait Bridge and the BMA is not there to stop that, that means you are losing revenue in terms of your income. So it is very important that we do that. There is also other infrastructure projects that are really supported at policy level, like your one-stop border post. There's going to be an upgrade of the 6 land ports of entry to a one-stop border post that will support the Africa Free Trade Area and also make sure that the ease and movement of goods is easy and we are able to catch all the illegal goods that might be coming into the country. And as we've indicated, part of the recommendations at a policy level in terms of the Vulindlela report, which said these are the expectations from immigration that we want, particularly our permitting unit. We were given 5 process recommendations as well as 3 policy recommendations, which means that a total of 8 in terms of the visa regime changes had to be introduced. Out of those, 6 have already been implemented, which makes it easier for people to come and move into the country, supporting tourism, supporting the introduction of skills. We are only left with 2, which is the expansion of capacity and issues around IT modernization. So that is the work that is being done around the area of immigration. And we're not banning platforms around the issue of people who came into the country in Mpumalanga. And I can tell you, the issue of Tuti Zuma is an example of how we capture and make sure that we deliver justice to those who do wrong and assist illegal people to come into the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade Njabule. Comrade Parks, as we said, we work together. Comrade Parks will then come in and then we'll take the question thereafter. Oh, okay. Thank you.
I don't think I should move it.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. Just a few points focusing on local government and service delivery. Of course, we're talking within the context of the burning platforms. And in many ways, the challenges we confront in local government constitute in themselves a burning platform. So one of the first issues that we're looking at is, in fact, the architecture of local government, having experienced a local government system over 25 years and whether it's functioning optimally or not. And I think we've identified a number of significant gaps that require intervention. And instead of having ad hoc interventions, we're taking the view that it is important that we re-envision our system of local government and drive that through a process of reviewing the white paper on local government and redesigning our system of local governments and related mechanisms of governing at a local level, including the financial architecture, the mechanisms of financing local government, and related matters. The second is that whilst talking about re-envisioning local government, revising the white paper and legislation that creates and supports local government, there are immediate steps that we need to take that needs to resolve some of what might seem as intractable challenges that we have. Amongst those would be addressing the intergovernmental debt, challenges with regards to infrastructure, and so on. And we are of the view that, in fact, in the next phase of Operation Vulindlela, as pronounced by the President, we need to focus on local government and its issues. And that would include addressing the debilitating intergovernmental debt crisis where municipalities or agencies and utilities at the national government level, national departments or municipalities, it's a spiraling problem that has not reached finality, and we've been responding in piecemeal ways And we think that it is now important that you have an overarching response that addresses the debt crisis in our local governance system and how that impacts other agencies. So the impact of municipalities not paying water boards, for example, is that these, because they are self-financing, could very easily collapse, as we experienced with the Citizen Water Board. And some of the water boards are beginning to indicate challenges in terms of their ability to provide reliable bulk water supplies. So that crisis is not, when you look at it, it's about addressing these challenges so that we guarantee and secure availability of services going forward. We think that there should be a particular focus on our metropolitan municipalities and key cities in the country as centers of economic growth and investment. So that should constitute part of the Operation Vulindlela initiatives around local government. And then we need to capitalize and recapitalize critical infrastructure in our municipalities. Comrade Senzo, in his previous capacity at Water and Sanitation, published a report on what is the drop reports. And all the indicators are suggesting that we require significant reinvestment and investment in critical infrastructure. This would include water reservoirs, wastewater treatment plants, and so on. It would include intake points and transformers on the electricity side. So whilst we have achieved significant progress with regards to load shedding, we now all know that in fact sometimes our municipalities have their own challenges, and some of them have to do with your intake points, your ability to accept electricity from Eskom into the municipality. There's a huge intake point that requires significant investments for municipalities to accept those electricity into the municipality. And then it has to do with local transformers and ensuring that those are invested in. So those critical infrastructure points in our municipalities require attention. And we think that we need to have now greater appetite to partner with the private sector, to mobilize public-private partnerships, to have mechanisms of private sector participation in addressing some of the challenges in local government, and to ensure that we mobilize resources across the board, from government to development finance institutions, including local and international financing institutions. So you should be able to go to the DBSA in as much as you should be able to go to the French Development Bank and look at different financing mechanisms, including blended financing mechanisms, to address the challenges that we confront on the bulk side in the municipal infrastructure network. So financing is a particular track of work that we need to focus on in addressing these challenges. And then there are the daily issues of municipal basic service delivery. This is the point at which communities experience reliability of supply. Yes, you have a tap, but the water doesn't always come out. When you drive on a road, you have potholes. You have sewer leakages in different parts of the townships, in towns, and so on. So those most basic service delivery issues. And we're saying that, in fact, we should be bold and make a decision that we're going to look at all the grants and subsidies that go to local government and purpose and repurpose them to address basic service delivery challenges. So it's almost like going on a zero base and saying, yes, there's money that goes to local government. A lot of it goes back to national government at the end of the financial year because of either under expenditure or any other challenges that we experience. Some of it goes to new capital infrastructure, but your services are challenged. So you have water leakages and other problems, but you're building new infrastructure. So we need to begin to balance those things and say, how do we address these challenges? And some of the restrictions are in the regulations that govern these subsidies and grants. So we need to go back to these subsidy and grant regulations and say, can we rebase and rethink about these most basic service delivery issues and how we address them? And then there is what we consider an existential issue. which is about prepaid meters. The prepaid meter issue is a very significant issue because the date of conversion into a new vending system needs to be completed before the 24th of November, 2024. And not all our municipalities are on track to meet the target. Sometimes because communities resist municipalities coming in to change the meter because people are worried that you are dealing with arrears. But you're now creating a burden on and a risk to both municipality and municipalities and communities. Because in essence, if the vending system doesn't work, when you go and buy a token to get your electricity, that token will not work from the 24th of November. So unless these meters have been changed, we're creating a problem for the sale of electricity. And how do municipalities supply electricity? Because the intake of electricity is at the point of the meter. How do municipalities then supply your electricity if the vending system doesn't work? So this is an existential problem because it's going to impact municipalities and communities. The municipality would not be able to on-sell the electricity. Communities would not be able to buy the electricity. And therefore, the system is likely to collapse in many instances. So we do need to work closely with communities to address these problems, but equally take an all-of-government approach to addressing what we believe is an existential issue. And then there are issues around traditional leaders that we discussed. We think it's important that we address some of the challenges that have affected traditional leaders, including how we partner with them as development and service delivery partners. In certain instances, the relationship has deteriorated and is pretty much dysfunctional between traditional leaders and our local councils. So we need to address those issues. We need to resolve the issues of historic claims in relation to chieftaincies, kingdoms, and so on, because that's also creating its own level of instability. And then we need to ensure that we standardize issues around benefits and emoluments in relation to traditional leaders. It has been a grievance where they are saying different provinces are dealing with benefits for traditional leaders in different ways and creating tension in the country. So we need to address that. And then there are issues in the municipal environment that also require attention, and those have to do with the way in which we address labor relations tension. Now, you would know that for a very long time we have not had a general strike in local government because the National Bargaining Council seems to be functioning well or is functioning well. But many strikes and protests are at the local level. And this is generated either in a local labor forum and disagreements there, either in the way in which workers have grievances that have not been addressed at the local level that require attention. And we think that that environment needs closer attention. We have historically left it to the municipalities to address and have come in at the point of crisis. So there's a strike in Machabeng, we need to run there. There's a strike where we need to run there. There's protest in this place and we need to run there. So instead of dealing with it in an ad hoc way, we think that we need to have an overarching response to the labor relations environment in local government. And then lastly, it is in relation to disaster management and revising the way in which we deal with disaster management. Firstly, that we need to take a disaster risk reduction approach. Secondly, that we need to improve the efficiencies of the disaster management system. So sometimes what happens is there's a disaster, you have to go through a process of declaring a disaster. After it is declared, the municipality must prepare documents to apply for money to go through, to get money from national government to deal with the disaster. And when they get the money, they need to go through a procurement process. The reality is that the community is affected. The community is sitting in halls and in all sorts of uncomfortable situations, and the impact has been devastating to many of these communities. So we need to improve the efficiency, including just establishing panels. Go through an advertisement, establish a panel, and ensure that when a disaster strikes, you are able to respond immediately. But also ensure that you optimize the way in which you utilize your disaster management legislation and regulations. Now, we would remember, all of us would remember that during the COVID disaster, the Minister of Khayelitsha would continuously issue directions to different departments. And these are binding directions. So how do we ensure that directions are issued to different departments and we don't just keep the burden on the municipality itself? So if there are departments that have responsibilities to deal with the disasters, you need to be able to ensure that you're able to issue those. So that's the last point. Safe to say that one of the areas we have emphasized is in relation to performance monitoring and evaluation, and a tighter look at the way in which our councillors and municipalities function, and ensure that we improve accountability measures in relation to those that have been deployed by the ANC in our local government system. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Comrade Parks, Comrade Foley, Comrade Senzo, and Comrade Jabulo. So that's how it goes. We will take, so pack up your questions both on the crime, immigration, and the local government issues once, so that we don't come back. Business Day, I see you. Yeah, well, Masego. And then News 24 after Masego. And then you, my G. And then we come to you, Malungile. Shannon, you're back today. To see you. You'll be after Shannon, you, sir, then Junior. Oh, I see you, SAPC as well. Yeah, Mr. Immigration, you are the last. Okay, the two of you will be the last. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Tando, my editor from the Business Day. My question is for Minister Parks on local government. So we know that the problems in local government are highly political, right, and cannot easily be resolved through bureaucratic intervention. How does the ANC see, let's say, the Operation Vulindlela efficiently resolving those issues, and how does the ANC plan to resolve against resistance of an upper layer of government versus resolving issues at a lower level, because local government has its own rules and regulations, and there's a clear delineation of power there. Thanks.
Thank you, Minister of the SABC. My question is to the Minister, or to ANC member Senzo Mchunu. In short, you are saying you support shoot to kill. How is the difference of the actions of the police in a province of like KwaZulu-Natal and Khayelitsha different from that squad of Johan Boysens, the Cato Manor hit squad? How is it different from that particular era? To Mr. Parkstow, you are former mayor of city of Joburg. When you look at that city that was once dubbed the city of gold, what do you think has happened to the city of Joburg? How do you revive it? And who should become the mayor going forward between Lois Omasugu and Dada Morero, since we are involved in the integrities of those particular discussions? Thank you.
Siamtana Chapa, News 24. My first question is to Mr. Senzo Mchunu. What would the collaboration with metros and municipalities on the Metro Police look like? Would it be financial support? Would you be sharing intelligence? Could you please elaborate on that? And then Mr. Parkstow, Minister, municipalities, we've seen residents sort of do the work themselves. We've seen residents sort of cast municipalities aside and say, look, these people, we've given them a chance, they haven't delivered, we're taking this on ourselves. And it looks like, I can say that it's people giving up on government and the ANC. Can you respond to that? And also, did the ANC discuss revolving doors in municipalities in terms of leadership, the kind of instability that brings for residents, And was there a solution that came about that possibly leveraging the GNU to resolve some of the issues at a local government level? Thank you.
IPID also falls under your office. I just want to know, in terms of what has been happening regarding the shootings, what message have you been getting or reports from IPID? Thank you.
Thank you.
Corruption what?
Within subs or
Within subs.
Within subs.
Okay. In terms of e-communication interlinks for Wonga department, I'm talking traffic, I'm talking community safety, home affairs, intelligence. Is there a system in place for you guys to interlink and communicate to reduce the pressure? And then I have, okay, and last one. In terms of this also goes to Usu Lokonjana, Mr. Bani Nzuza. Sorry, no, it's nothing Nzuza. In terms of private partnership, Mr. Mkhunu Ushilo, you are looking into that, your private security. Your private security majority is foreign nationals. How then are you going to make sure that the same people are working for you, not against you? Ngiyabonga.
Good morning, Shannon Merrick from Kasi Broadcasting. I think yesterday I didn't use my airtime, so I'm asking for indulgence today. To ask 3 or 4 questions, because yesterday I didn't ask, I gave everybody opportunity. My question to Senzo as the Minister of Police, you know, there's a simple, very simple thing in SAPS. You go, you open a case, SAPS is supposed to send you a SMS with the case number. It doesn't happen. Now, just that creates a problem in the community, just the SMS, because if a woman got raped, abused, a child, what, if they just get that SMS, they feel, yeah, SAPS is working. So by the time they leave the police station, it takes 3 hours to open a case, whatever. But if in 30 minutes or an hour, they can just get that SMS, it was house robbery, car theft, whatever the case may be, I'm telling you, you'll be the best minister just by sending SMS after a case is open, because it doesn't happen. The second part is the media is the enemy of the state. Now I'm going to say this open here in this platform. Everybody here is under intelligence, surveillance, everybody knows them. You in media, it's supposed to happen in any country, there's nothing wrong. I went to the El Dorado Park police station because the community complained about the El Dorado Park police station. I was not even 5 minutes in the station, not even 5 minutes, I was arrested for sabotage in November, in a democratic country, not apartheid. I just went to report this thing of why don't you send the SMS? When people report a case, why? But they have helped me. I spent 3 days in the cell. Now I'm going to talk of my experience. There's the thing of a woman, a man, a South African citizen that open a case, right? They have rights, they must open the case. Then there's the second part. When my child, your child, or whoever gets arrested, they're not guilty yet, like myself. I was charged for sabotage by a big general in the police station. There's a case number, everything, but the court kicked it out in Kliptown. Now, when you're arrested, you also have rights, because that's what our constitution says. Remember, now I'm a suspect. Before I came, I was media, but now I'm a suspect, I'm in jail. I have rights to use a toilet. I have rights to eat. The food was nice that Saturday, that I can say. But here's my problem. Here's my problem. Somebody in Freedom Park, the community, mob justice that person. That person, whatever he did or didn't do, it's not me to judge. The person came in the police station, his head was open, an African. His head was bleeding, he was next to us. At 10 o'clock, we had to fight in the cell as jailbirds now. Remember, my cap is changed now. I'm now accused person, what. We had to fight with the police to say, if this man dies here tonight, tomorrow morning you'll say it's us that killed him. They took the man, they gave him Edgar dolls, a man that's bleeding. So the rights of those that gets arrested must be dealt with as well. My last point on this, I hope I'll get around to come back to parks as well. The issue on border control. Now, because my constituency is people in Kasi, I get to know things that maybe some people might not know. One of the things, in Joburg in Bree Street, just put on a Nevron minister, walk in Bree Street, boys will tell you, you want. They're selling straight in Bree Street. So why is intelligence not responding to that? In Bree Street, you don't have to, they sell it to people going to work, why don't we deal with that? Now, before we come to Hillbrow as a problem, the borders, Messina, we know Zimbabweans come via Messina, Nigerians come via what. Why don't we use this thing? I didn't support this thing of Lesotho, of Panyas, Nasispane and what. But it's working. The Nyaupe boys in township now, they know when they see those, they must put away, they must run away. Why don't we in Messina and those areas put that system, put more people from the area? Those are the foots on the ground. And those can help the community better because they know. They might, the station commander might not know. These people go to this house, like you were talking of, your Parks was speaking of the house. The house is rented, everything, but they do things there. The people in the community, these green mambas, Panya of Lesotho, hire more of those in all communities. I'm telling you, crime will go down in less than 6 months. My last take, thank you for this opportunity. My last take is, you know, investors is not going to invest into this country, Parkstown. You have in situation, you have Orlando Industrial Park, Pennyville Industrial Park. You go to Lundi, Matlabatini, there's industrial parks, it's not working. Why is it not working? Services. Government don't provide the services, the water and electricity is outstanding. Go to those businesses, speak to them and say, okay, we'll do write-off or start afresh and let South Africans start running those businesses. Every business that employs 6 people might save us from 6 drugs dealers, 6 murders. And that's what's happening with the industrial parks, but I'll come back to this one of industrial parks because that one, black businesses in townships, Soweto, I can tell you the 10 parks, you can go to them, they'll tell you, thank you. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Nellie Payton from Reuters. I also have a question for the police minister. Specifically on the issue of murder rates, you said that it's not under control. And some crime analysts have told me that they think that's because the ANC has not really updated its tactics or changed its approach, which I'm sure is debatable. But I'd like to know, what are you going to do differently to address this differently from what's already been tried in the last few years? And then also on the Libyans, is this being investigated as a national security issue? And do you suspect or have any reason to believe that they're affiliated with some kind of political or military group in Libya? Thanks.
Brian Security from the Citizen.
Minister Mkuno, you have indicated that you are unhappy to say that police are in control. But you've equally said that things are not out of control. Now, what will give you that confidence to say that things are in control when it comes to crime fighting?
Okay, my name is Ndebe. I'm with the SAPC. Minister Mkuno, South Africans have been complaining that the high levels of crime in the country have. Okay, I'm saying, Minister Mkuno, my name is Ndebe. I'm with the SAPC. South Africans have been complaining that the high levels of crime in the country have the potential to undermine the country's democracy. And I think after listening to what you're saying and in terms of your intervention, there must be oozing with hope. But how then do you balance that bit of success and your determination to fight crime in the country with the corrupt police that some of them are seen to be or are alleged to be part of the criminal network in the country? How do you balance that? Because sometimes it's just good to train police and say 10,000 police officers have been trained and welcomed into the fold. But some of them, they just assimilate into the system and become part of the criminal network. And to Minister Nzuza, there was a gentleman by the name of Pastor Bushiri. At some point, he left the country, mysteriously so, and him being brought back into the country to stand trial was dependent on the Home Affairs Department, the Justice Department, I think the police. How far have you gone in terms of in terms of ensuring that that man come and stands trial? Because remember, people died and their families want to see justice. And we are told that, in fact, he was helped or aided out of the country. When is he coming back to stand trial? Because families want to see justice on that. That's my submission.
You have this thing
Thank you so much. I'm Hawala Maono from UFM. There will be the host of them. You know, during the campaign, the ANC, I would recall the ANC talking about crime in general terms, so much that it created an impression that you decided deliberately that immigration is a problematic issue. You have Herman Mashaba and the Abahambe brigade, who believe they've been thanked by South African voters for their anti-immigration stance. And then it seems that the ANC decided that we are not going to make this an election issue. We do not want to be punished like the EFF that is perceived to have been punished by the voter. And to make it worse, then comes the decision by the president to redeploy Minister Motsoaledi to another portfolio when he appeared so determined to rein in illegal immigration. Now you have it's like you are now dumping this on the table of the DA to say this is a crisis, let's see what they do with them, so that if there's electoral consequences, they are not there for the ANC. Tied to that, are you able to tell if the new minister and his party, who have made it clear that they believe that we need to relax the laws in order to allow skilled labor and investors into the country, they believe that it's currently difficult for those groupings to come into the country? Are you aware whether they are going to continue implementing the white paper that was drafted in the 6th administration or not? And doesn't the ANC regret ratifying some of the treaties on immigration, in particular the UN Convention on Immigration, which seems to be imposing an obligation on South Africa that you will host anybody and anyone for as long as they say, I'm in danger back at home? How do you balance that against the need of South Africans? And regarding corruption, but in particular the illegal activities happening at the border, don't you get the sense that, as Ndebo has put it, that these officers that are being recruited are merely adding numbers, that they don't have the necessary sense of patriotism that the officer, a law enforcement officer should carry with, that they've lost the respect for the very uniform that they wear? Because I think if they carried themselves in that fashion and in a loud way, it would not be easy for immigrants to approach them with bribery. And lastly, I've seen this on TV quite a lot lately, where women are complaining that this, let me not even go the gender route, but South Africans are complaining that, look, I married this immigrant to help them get citizenship. Now this person is no longer consistent with the payments that we agreed upon. This is a marriage of convenience. So I want to find out how easy is it for one to gain South African citizenship through this route of marriage? And if I'm caught as a South African aiding a foreigner by marrying them where no romance exists, just for this sole purpose that they get citizenship, how much trouble am I in if I'm caught doing that? Thank you.
Hey, time flies. You are arriving late.
Thank you. Khotatsu Marisa from Sunday Times and Times Live, as it says. Maybe just to pick up from Samkele, what is the posture of the ANC's Peace and Security Cluster or subcommittee on the conduct of the police in KZN? Are you in support of what they're doing? And what do you make of the criticism that the police there has been facing recently? Because I mean, they're dealing with crime, but looks like, you know, it's not settling well with a lot of South Africans. What do you make of that? Thank you.
Can you please confirm whether Chitima is a South African or not? And does this mean if she's born in South Africa, that this means that she's authentically a South African citizen? Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much for your questions. Some of it's really questions. We will start with.
Can I start sort of?
Yeah, because you have few, so we'll start with local government.
Well, thank you very much. I think the point that Thando is raising, that local government in its nature is political. Well, people are elected, so it automatically means that they are political beings. But just to get to the specific issues that you're raising, insofar as it has to do with ANC-led municipalities, the NEC has directed, in fact, in the NEC meeting, the NEC has directed that we should intervene timeously in areas where municipalities are led by the ANC, and you have different challenges, including closer monitoring and evaluation, accountability and service delivery interventions, as the ANC taking direct responsibility for those municipalities that are led by us. Insofar as there are municipalities led by coalition governments, we have made a deliberate decision, and in the remarks or reflections on coalition governments, you would have seen that there is a commitment to address the instability in local government and a decision to ensure that we address issues in coalitions, starting in the metros, starting in Johannesburg, not the way in which Samkelo wants us to deal with it, but starting in Johannesburg to ensure that the coalition's task team is able to help resolve the problems that we have and stabilize the situation in Johannesburg. In relation to whether this, and this relates to a question that was asked by someone else, I think, Sia, in relation to whether the GNU has opened opportunities for us to stabilize some of these environments. Yes, it has, but not in a way that classically you would think. If you think about it, there are doors that have opened in the past few months that were not open a few months ago. And there's been platforms for engagement across political parties to ensure that we focus on the fundamental issues that affect our communities at a local level and governance in our municipalities. So it has opened up the opportunities for parties to engage across the board and to try and find practical and pragmatic solutions. And there isn't a particular way in which these alignments have happened. You would have observed changes in the Western Cape that would not have responded classically to what people might have perceived to be the response a month ago. We have seen changes or discussions in Gauteng that are happening outside a framework that you would have assumed would have been the result of the GNU negotiations. But essentially there's been a door opened, and I think parties are taking advantage of that door. I should say that with the GNU process, I generally think that the opportunity was created by the fact that we reached out to every single party represented in Parliament, with genuine discussions with every single party represented in Parliament. We might not have agreed, parties might not have chosen to be included in the GNU, but every single party knew that the ANC will engage openly and frankly. And I think that has opened doors for many people to want to talk to us, to find solutions to local problems. How that evolves, I think we are going to have to look at very closely. I think all of us are concerned about the state of both governance and the municipal and service delivery in Johannesburg and the development challenges that have afflicted the municipality and the city. And we have pronounced as the ANC that we are prioritizing the resolution of the leadership issue in Johannesburg and governance and stabilizing that. Coupled to that would be a commitment to address the service delivery challenges in Johannesburg. When I spoke earlier in the presentation, I indicated that the approach to Operation Vulindlela would include a focus on the metropolitan municipalities. Now, you would know that Operation Vulindlela is an all-of-government approach, but also an all-of-society approach, where you're mobilizing the private sector, civil society, and other stakeholders in confronting the challenges. So the prioritization of the metropolitan municipalities from a governance, financial, and service delivery point of view is something that we have agreed on and prioritized, and you'll be able to see over the next few weeks a significant focus on those issues. You know, sometimes we do not acknowledge our daily interface with our municipalities. In reality, when you wake up, as soon as you wake up, you interface in most instances with your municipality. You switch on the light. You brush your teeth. You use the ablution facilities. So in your home, before you even leave the house, you've interfaced with different components of what a municipality does. So it is not always true that people are disengaging, because in reality, when you have to flush a toilet, you interface with your municipality. We don't always think about it that way, but the reality is that you've had a direct interface with your municipality at that point, and people are not disengaging and saying, well, I'm now moving to chemical toilets. Now, we need to address the service delivery issues without suggesting that there's been almost a walk away from everything that local government does. Because in reality, our municipalities still interface with the people. What we have said is, let's focus on the issues that we have raised. Operation Vulindlela, to ensure that we're able to capitalize the issues, address the financing needs, address the governance issues, and ensure that we maintain stability in our municipalities. But we also accept that because of other issues compounding the situation, many people have decided and incentivized by government as part of resolving the electricity crisis, incentivized to install solar panels. Of course, that is a way in which people complement the electricity supply, because in reality, you don't always exclude completely. You still have an excess charge in the municipality, because you still have a right to have access to electricity. Even if you have solar panels, at the point at which they don't work, you need to be able to access the grid. So the fact that you access the grid means that you're still interfacing with the municipality. Even as people say, I've moved completely off, what they're saying is, I've moved completely off paying, but I still have access to the grid if and when I require that grid. And those changes we have to factor into the way in which we're governing our local government systems, and we adapt financing, service delivery mechanisms, and so on. On the revolving doors, I think I've commented about that. On the industrial parks, I think Comrade Zoko will be in a different panel later that will talk industrial parks. I'm sure the attraction to me commenting about it is natural. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Comrade Senzo. We're not going to answer gossip, Maseko. Leave that one.
No, thank you very much once more for the questions. The first one is around Katomela, and it's linked to your question, shoot to kill, and do we support what they're saying? Look, let's be realistic and be ordinary in responding to that question. The ANC work of South Africa. They are the alpha. They are omega. They are the law. They are the first and the last law. This question and the answer thereof, we should avoid taking that out of context. I would have loved if we were in a hall among people of KwaZulu and then ask these questions so that they, the people that give us a mandate to be here, how do they feel about it? What's their reaction to it? What's their perception? And then our conversation would be real. For now, it's really unreal because it doesn't include people who are alpha and omega, are experiencing whatever they are experiencing, causing the criminals and the police to meet in that second. But the second problem that I try to avoid answering or elaborating on those questions is the actual scene, because police, including in KZN, I haven't picked up any incident where they drive a police van or they walk, shoot to kill, as the slogan would go. I haven't. It says police were in KwaDlangezwa. It's a specific geographical area. They acted on intelligence that those criminals that we are looking for are in a specific house. Go and check. They go there. Obviously, when they get there, they are told, it's criminals who are there, and this is the house. They are not about to get a cup of tea from those criminals in that. They know that on site, these criminals are going to react in whatever way. The last thing they will do is to give themselves up. They won't do that. They won't do that. The same in Cape Town. The same in Eastern Cape, where police intercepted a cash in transit group. So in all of them, you hear one thing: police got there and they were fired at. You hear the second thing: there were so many firearms that they picked up after that. Now, so this depicts the scene, the actual crime scene, and say, so they were there to shoot, to kill. It's really dangerous. And it's not really helping us, because the community of KwaDlangezwa, I've been receiving, since I became Minister of Police, they want me to go there because I come from the area, in part. And the people elsewhere, I received a message last night saying, we are almost not eating, we want you to come here. Obviously, I'll go there and listen to them. If the situation warrants particular deployments, will do so. And they won't go there to propose love to young ladies there. They will be going there to fight crime. Fight crime. And that is what the ANC has instructed us to do. They are saying, go and fight crime, because people are complaining. Now, the police are the only people who have legitimacy and who are expected by the community. If there was something additional to that, we would also be carrying our own. Because we have some experience some time ago. We would be, but we are not authorized, and therefore it would be illegitimate. That's why I need to talk to the chair of. I didn't see him, but I heard that he was on the crime scene yesterday at night. And I will have a conversation to him that we need to avoid getting into crime scenes as politicians, because there's no role for us there, especially when it is live. We can go there tomorrow. We can meet the police who are involved there to say, well done, we are with you on the scene. In fact, I phoned National Commissioner last night to say, what do you think about it? And he was of the view that he should go there and that we should go there. And I said to him in the morning, I've thought about this, go there, because we're elsewhere. Now, so before we ask the question and before we answer, let's confront the two. Where are the people here who have been complaining and phoning to us that bring police, we are suffering, and so on? Two, when the police got there, we were not there. So we are asking questions. Of course, we are journalists. You are perfectly correct to ask that question. But I so wish you and I, Samuel, we could have gone to the scene first, met the police who were there, and they take us through, see that house, who fired first, how many bullets, who fired back amongst us first, how many bullets, what happened, what did we pick up. Each firearm and each bullet inside those firearms that were picked up in Guadlangezo were picked up in Inanda on 2 occasions, would have been loaded in the firearm for each of the police. What criminals do, they load their firearms. They test them, that they are functional. And they say when police come, because they're the ones who are going to, obviously they know, they regard communities as their victims. It's known. People are their victims. You just point a firearm, you get what you want. Police are not like that. So they know. They load each firearm praying that each of those bullets kill a policeman or a policewoman. What must police do? They are human beings, as I said. So the question of shoot to kill doesn't arise. Because our reaction would be, say, who is shooting to kill? Is it the police? Is it criminals? Who? But what has happened in detail, they have shot to kill communities there. That's why they are complaining about the rate of murders in my community. It's because they've been shot to be killed. And police get there. Do you want them to be shot to be killed? So the question doesn't really arise. France. What do? Do we support police? Not only do we support them, we want them to do their job because it's their mandate. They are paid for that. Not only are they paid, they are trained for that, to combat and prevent crime. One incident that has taken place, 3 weeks ago in that municipality called Alfredo. Police reacted to a murder of a secretary of a business chamber there. They went there, I think, in 3 vans. Crime scene. They're on their way back. I think they wanted to get some refreshments or whatever in a garage, only to stumble on people there who were there for robbery. And these people thought these police are coming for us. And they shot at them. With no weight, nothing. They just shot at them. And they killed 1 policeman. And 7 of them in hospital. Now, so, would you say we support them? The question wouldn't arise because they were shot at while going there to buy drinks or something else. So I think let us be sensitive. On one hand, let us be sensitive to communities who are falling victim to these criminals. But let's also be sensitive to police, because they are the only people who are legitimately given the mandate to protect us. And when they protect us, let's not question them. Unless it is just police, 2 police, women or men walking down the street drunk, and then they start shooting. There, the question arises. Now, somebody asked me about IPID. I've spoken to IPID. We speak to IPID every day. Not every day we speak. Even on Saturday, we speak. We were speaking to them. They were speaking to us, phoning. What do we say to them in relation to KZN, for instance? We say, go and do your job. What do they say when they call us? They say, Minister, don't worry about that and that and that incident. We are doing our work. Now, I don't have to direct them how to do their work and where to do their work. They know, they have a mandate, they do their work. But when we met with them and they told us mandates because we are new, we said, what's your thinking about the crime rate in South Africa? And the fact that the only people who have to deal with are the police, over whom you have to, follow and so on. And they said, look, the only thing we can tell you, Minister, is that we have a mandate, it is legislated. We will do our work. Whether crime is low or whether it is high, we will continue doing our work to the best of our... It's legislated. They do that. So we talk to them every day. They do their work. Even on Saturday, the executive director was telling me, I'm doing my work, and so on. So we talk to them about that. So that's my response to the question. The second question, I took some time on this SAPS corruption. SAPS are a family. The members of that family are police, men and women. And how many of them? About 180,000. 179,000. In a family of 3 people, three members, somebody would act in a manner that the other 2 don't approve. In a day, in a week, in a year. Once or twice or 3 times. What do? You don't disown them. You don't, whether it is corruption or any other. We saw a video of a policeman somewhere in Northern Cape. He was driving a van, and they say he was drunk. And the van collided with a car of a citizen. And they pulled him down, and what appears on the video is somebody drunk with uniform. So there would be those. But what do we say? We are saying people and the policing forums and all of that. Please report when you come across a corrupt policeman. Please report. Now, other than that, it is our duty to weed police, general, of wayward police, women or men. It is our everyday job. When we get that, we react. And by the way, there are hearings. Today in the morning, I was signing a document for somebody to be a presiding officer on a case. We do work on an everyday basis. Why? We don't want any corrupt policeman or woman in the police. We don't want any corrupt policeman or woman in the police. Why do we do so? It's because we want the uniform of police and them inside that uniform to be regarded as law and order. We want them to be the symbol. We want them to represent the state on the safety side, on the authority side, of the state. We want them to be trusted. We want them to be credible. And we want them to be professional. And we want them to, when you see a policeman, you feel warm. And when you want services from them, you feel warm. That is what we want. And we want them to be like that. Obviously, when we come across somebody who's not like that, we will act on them. In fact, not that we will. We are acting on them ever since we have come. And it has been happening before. But we do want to take this opportunity. If you're a policeman and a policewoman, and you find yourself acting criminally, please resign. You don't belong there before you embarrass yourself. Please resign, because you're in a wrong profession. You are definitely lost. You should jump the fence and go to the other side so that we deal with you. Not hiding in the police uniform. Just wear the clothes of your gang and so on. And this time around, we think that people are gaining our trust, the way they are interacting with us as ministry. And therefore, it's not going to be difficult. And we're not going not to act. We're going to act decisively against them. There's no doubt about it. But those who are corrupt among them. Let me pass that one. What's this? Synergy and you were talking about communication and synergy. Yes, it was. It's an area that we're sitting here, I'm raring for the end of Lekgotla so that we can embark on that task. One of the arguments that arose is in the commission, our commission, was whether there was the required level and quality of synergy between the players in NECOC. It arose in the context of Mpumalanga camp, because one of you wrote something and said, no, intelligence knew as early as April about that camp. The question then is arising, what then happened? Not getting to know is one thing, but to coordinate such that you cause yourself to act accordingly is a different one. Now we're tackling that question. What do we want? We want tight communication. Remember, these people are tasked with a very delicate task. Safety of the country. It is in their hands, literally in their hands. Literally in their hands. Well, some of you will ask, what does President Cyril Ramaphosa do if you say so? He is presiding as president. But people who wear boots and who do the actual job of securing is this cluster. And therefore, they need to be up in and equal to the task, if not more. And therefore, we are coming out of this Lekgotla. We will just make sure that there isn't even a small opening in terms of coordination and communication to those who are entrusted with this job. Ours is not to get it done, but it is to see to it that it is done, because it's our job, that they coordinate thoroughly. Now, and synergy, meaning processing, and that calls for trust among them. Trust and working relations, that if so-and-so gives me this information, is my task to act in a particular way, I do so, because it's in the interest of South Africa as a whole. And what is good in South Africa is that we do have expertise, even in the area of, don't take it for granted that if there are camps, it's because of lack. We may lack required technology in terms of volumes, modernization, and so on. But what we have at the moment, we do have. We just need to improve and intensify. Yeah. That will not stop doing. But we do have. And they tell you, when you have conversations with them, that question doesn't arise. They never say, hey, we are short of this and that. They will tell you in lowered voices that we also need, so that we catch up with standards elsewhere in the country. Because South Africans deserve the best when it comes to security, when it comes to safety. And we're getting there, no doubt about it. Now, what's the other question? Is partnerships with foreigners. We're not going to partner with foreigners. We're going to partner with formations that have organized themselves and model themselves as people who are fighting. Now, you are saying, but employed in those, we'll screen. We're not going to go around, Diembo Shell, myself, liaising with criminals just because they've organized themselves into a security company of one kind or the other. We're not going to do that. We are not going to do that and embarrass you. It's not going to happen. So we are going to be very selective. Took people to necessary screens or screenings, and then we establish working relations with them. So we'll be very thorough. Next question was case numbers. We take your advice that we bring in technology. Indeed, it inspires. But I'm surprised that you asked this question. I opened a case in 2019 when my cell phone was hacked. The same day I got my case number. So we will investigate, of course, whether it happens across and all the time. But that's something that you and I will expect. And if it is not happening, we will check and make sure that it happens. It's the first thing that you need to get, a case number once you have opened. Sorry for being arrested in El Dorado Park, but good that you are here. You are no longer under arrest. Very good. We can then talk informally what was happening and so on.
Yeah.
Now, the rights of people, yes, we know when you are arrested, including one boy from my township in Golizane who was arrested after murdering and raping a less than 7-year-old. Less than 7. And somebody drove to that police cell and said, I just want to look at the face of this person. And I said, so what? I said, I just can't figure out somebody who does that to a 7-year-old child. And that is the duty of society. I even asked details. Is he staying with his mother and father? No, he's in a garage of somebody, hired a room or a rendezvous somewhere, and so on. Because you get interested, what kind of a person is this? And it is among some people of a particular age. Yes, people like us who are senior citizens. I'm not saying we're holy, we're angels. But I'm just privately looking at what has happened to our young males in particular. Because there are numbers in these things. Your age and all of them. We're looking at them. We're looking at them. We're looking at them. And yeah. So the rights affirmed. We don't even the rights of the worst of a criminal amongst us. Some rights. Border better, yes. We want to be known. I know somebody told me that that camp is in the agenda of the United Nations or some committee of the United Nations today. Of course, it means that we're on the spotlight as a result of that. And so want to be the best in terms of border management. That's why we are going to be writing a Minister of Home Affairs and, of course, where the Deputy Minister belongs, and then with border management, so that we discuss the specific matter and identify things that need to be done and done immediately. It's one of the very urgent matters. Now, you asked the last question, the last two questions. I don't know who was saying, is crime undermining democracy in our country? It's a very, very deep and serious question. Why is it so? When we were in Hanover Park in Cape Town, the people there spoke, and I could see that those people are no longer like the people we spoke to would have spoken to 20 years ago. They are very, very, very advanced when they interact with you. Some time ago, when ministers, just after democracy got appointed, we were happy that Pakistan is a minister. So before he speaks, we were clapping hands because the minister from the ANC would be clapping hands. And we won't listen to what he says until next time. And so this time, they want accountability. One of them was saying to us, Minister, are you observing that areas like Mannenberg, areas like Hanover Park, in terms of crime situation, it is now resembling what is happening in some countries in South America. This is a person in Cape Town, and is talking to a minister. Of course, I'm aware, I'm above average. I read what's happening. So I then said, this person sitting here is so worried that his worry goes beyond what is happening in Hanover Park. Is now at a point where he has distress. He's wondering. He has anxiety that his country is then going to where you hear stories like government is co-governing with cartels of criminals. So you are saying, are you aware that crime is at level? The pattern is increasingly going that I was taken aback. Now you are asking the same question, which means that it's more than one man, more than that man. Now certainly, what are we doing? South Africa is never going to get to that level. It's never going to get to a level where criminals or their gangs are going to play state in some cases, like happening. We are told also in Cape Flats, when a man quarrels with his wife and so on, or they don't pay, they don't look after their families. Cases are taken up by some of these gangs, and they intervene. So they are playing mini government there, because government is found to be wanting and services are found to be wanting. It's never going to get that way. It's never going to get that way. That's why we are in the Lekgotla. That's why we've been in the Lekgotla of government. We are equipped, and we're not going to lament about shortage of this and then budget. We have said, we've made ourselves very clear, the budget that we have, although it needs to be reviewed, improved, but what we have is enough to make an impact in crime in South Africa, such that the citizens see that we are at work. So it's never going to get there. And the last question was, control, is crime out of control? Is crime under control? What exactly are we saying? We are saying exactly that. Crime in South Africa, I mean, look at Katlehong. Just because one man there wields a panga, accompanied by somebody who is wielding a large firearm, the police were there in numbers. Last night, they were there. And in the morning, 4 people arrested. And they're going to be doing another arrest. Which shows even when police have to react after something, but they do, where they couldn't have overseen that. They are there very soon. Look at Khayelitsha. Intelligence, criminal intelligence. They got to know before that there was going to be a cash in transit. And they were directed to a particular house. They went there, they observed. And they saw that, no, this looks like exactly a house that was being described. And they were seeing movement, which resembles people who are planning. And they made themselves known that they are there now as police. And then these reacted by. So, which means that South Africa is being policed, and democracy is being protected. And I want to end up with this. At one point, I was in Qatar, and I had a conversation with somebody. And he says to me, you know the difference between South Africa and the Emirates is that here in the Emirates, people are afraid of government, meaning they have healthy fear for government. I'm not saying fear of being killed anytime. The healthy fear for government. And he says, in your country, the problem is otherwise. We have healthy fear for government. We don't care about Njabulo, whatever. We don't care about Kutlimpi. We're not afraid of each other. We don't fear each other. In your country, South Africa, the problem is that people don't care about government. They don't even know what government is. Anyone who wants to throw a stone at a window, who wants to blockade a road with his own or truck, even with a bicycle, they do so, they are not afraid of the state. They don't have healthy fear of the state, meaning they don't have respect of authority, of government. Now, that side, and we fear each other. I fear Tao, and I said, yeah, I hear Tao has so many firearms. Yeah, he can do whatever. Because his Tao Parks is known. In a particular, we even worship these people. We even name them that so and so in Kuzmalang. Because when he moves around, he has 20 bodyguards, 12 bodyguards. He has this. Some of these people are recruiting professional police. So those things, we're looking at them. People must, any country or a country of 62 million, there must be authority, of course, within the context of democracy, so that we can lead our lives. And it doesn't become a country where anybody can impose his or her authority anytime. It's not going to happen. Thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you. I think I can, no need to move. I can take them from here. Let me just disperse with this first issue, because I think we've been dealing with it, with the issue of Miss South Africa. And I think over the past week, we've clearly set out that the policy and the law is very clear. For a person to have been South African or citizenship by birth, you need to have been born out of South African parents, or one of your parents must have been South African. That's the policy perspective. It is very clear. I don't think we can dwell much into it, and I don't think really there is a need for us to even question policy. It's there, it's by law. If you go to the internet, you download the Citizenship Act, it will tell you exactly that. What we don't do, we don't go around discussing people's private information. I can tell you, if we're running a state that goes around, you know, anyone in the street, they ask you, yeah, is this one South African? And then you say, hey, I'm going to go and check. I mean, how much resources will you want to invest in busy checking over people almost every day? And that is why we said, no, we will wait for a time that comes when, you know, a body or someone comes to us with credible information. We've been always acting on information. It's not for the first time. We have lots of people who have really been patriotic South Africans. They come and tell us that, look into that matter. Here is some prima facie evidence that you can use. And then we say, okay, this is now a serious issue that we have to look into. And we look into those issues. Even this one now, we have received some requests. We are now looking into the matter. And the department will pronounce and make findings known once everything has been done. So let's just stick to that particular process. One thing that we must know as a country, and I think Comrade Macingwane, Comrade Senzo, you were saying it. As we plan for criminals, the criminals are also planning on how to open up new loopholes. For instance, the person arrested now, Zuma, 192 passports issued. What does it tell us? It says to us we must go behind and say, how did this thing happen? And then we picked up the system issues which opened up. Unfortunately, it affects citizens. For instance, we thought it was convenient that when you apply for a passport, you can have another person collecting your passport and so on. We stopped it. Now we are saying you apply for a passport. If you are supposed to come and get the passport, we want to do fingerprint testing so that you don't have Lebogang from Pakistan anymore, which devalues our passport. So even in the case of Bushiri, it is with justice. They are dealing with the extradition issue. But when we dealt with the Bushiri matter, it told us that no, there is a problem in permitting. That is why you see us making all these arrests, out of bed. Sometimes something good comes. When we started tracing him, we could see trends and everything through intelligence and crime intelligence information, working with the police. It pointed us. And then we had what we called an intervention team, which was led by Dr. Lubis, who was the former DG in the presidency. They went and looked into the matter and came back to us and say, hey, these are the problems that we are facing in the permitting unit. We sanitized the permitting unit to the extent that other people even complained. Some who were beneficiaries, they said, no, don't investigate us for making mistakes. We said, these are not mistakes. These are wrong things that we are doing, and we prosecute those people. And now we are setting up systems in place to deal with the issue. And some of them already we have implemented some of those Lubisi recommendations. Now, the issue of new officers, let me tell you, we can't take out of a population of 2,500. And then out of that population, 1 or 2 people do something wrong, we catch them, we deal with them. And then we say the whole block. When we were dispersing the 400 border guards, their own parents, because they were young people, they came there with their parents. Some of them have been out of a job for quite some time. Some of them are new entrants in the labor market. They are coming in as border guards. Their own parents are proud of them to say that my son is now a border guard in Musina, and my son is responsible for making sure that only right people enter the country. We went to Owar Tambo, met one young person, said to us, look, I'm working here, I'm very patriotic, I stand with the country. Those are good people, and we must keep those good people, and we must encourage them. And they are doing a stellar job. Some of the arrests that we make are not even public. Sometimes you just arrest, deal with the issue, it's not even in public. Through those people who have given us information. Marriage of convenience is if you commit fraud by coming to us and saying, no, I'm marrying this person, but you know very well that you are doing it for money.
Not romance.
Yeah, not romance. You are doing it for money. And rest assured, it always comes out, or one way or the other, because the trend is that you marry a South African, you all agree. It's not for romance. We enter, the government spends money sending investigators to come and check you that you are really romantically involved. We ask you questions. How long have you been staying with this person? And so on and so on and so on. We come to the conclusion. So you are part of the fraud. All along you are participating, misleading the state, giving it wrong information. Ultimately we say, okay, no, it's fine. They are married. By the way, if everyone was truthful and we did not have this fraud, other legitimate people will be having their marriages registered quite quickly, and they will get citizenship and so. But because of the fraud that people do, not marrying for romantic reasons or for love, but for money, it's a crime. You are committing a crime against the state. And the sad part is that immediately, once the marriage is finalized, a year later, because this person you are marrying to is probably already committed somewhere. That is where the true love is. They then divorce you, and then they go and get their true love to come into the country. Then you come running to us, you say, no, Home Affairs officials are corrupt. I got married in a very dubious man. We go to records, spokesperson. We find your fingerprints there on the day of marriage, that we captured your fingerprints. Then we ask, did someone cut off your hand to bring it here? Because we can still see your hand is still intact. Marriage is of convenience. There will be consequences with them. Not just those, even registering children wrongly and all those things. The issue of the border environment, when we deployed the cohort of the 400, the majority we deployed in Musina, which is a Bait Bridge. 100 of them, out of the 400, we have about 71 ports of entry. So out of the 71, we take the 100, we send them to where? To Bait Bridge, because we understand that Bait Bridge is a sensitive. We know that in the borderline, our biggest problem is in the northern parts. Our borders with Mozambique, our borders with Zimbabwe, and that is why when we plan, we call them vulnerable segments. We plan according to that. So that is why we deploy. Even if we were to take another cohort, we'll then take it there. In terms of the infrastructure that we are building in through the public-private partnership of the 6 ports of entry, probably the biggest resources will be spent also in Beitbridge. So we are taking a conscious decision to focus there. But one of the things, because we're in an ANC Lekgotla, one of the things that comes out is the need to have a discussion with our neighbors on the laws that we have a problem with. We went to Lesotho at some point. Mozambique is also no exception, where a law of innocent buyer is implemented. By innocent buyer spokesperson, I mean this. A person steals a car in South Africa, drives it across the border, lands up in another country, someone else buys the car, it's with South African number plates, you have a person driving the car. We come and say, no, that is a GP car. We all know that it belongs to someone in South Africa, and we know that it was stolen. They say, no, we can't do anything because the person driving the car is able to produce some proof that they bought the car, therefore they are an innocent buyer. Those are some of the conversations we need to have with our neighbors so that we can be able, to derail people taking cars and all this transnational and illegal movement of goods. On the issue of the white paper, it was one of the most processed document by the African National Congress. And the ANC believes that the white paper will take us a step further in dealing with illegal immigration in the country. And the paper does not say, no, just leave the conventions, turn your back on them. All that white paper is saying, look, with the conventions that we signed up to, let us also get to make reservations like all other countries that made reservations. Because South Africa is the only country that did not make reservations. We were new in democracy. We thought the world was this, beautiful thing, that there is no criminals in the world. The problems are only in South Africa with apartheid government. We thought the world was a beautiful place. But we have learned through the years that no. Crime is there, syndicates are there, and everything else. Not everyone is honest. So we need to pursue the white paper. We are in the government of national unity, which is led by the president of the country and the president of the ANC. The white paper has went through cabinet. It was approved by cabinet. It must now be second and be made into a bill, which will then go through government processes. So let government processes ensue and deal with the matter, where cabinet will preside and various processes will unfold as we know the law. But the conception of the white paper started in the movement with the concern around issues of illegal immigration.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think on the question of the subcommittee of peace and stability, you'll realize that it includes almost all the security cluster in that, because as the ANC, we're working in an integrated manner to be able to fight with crime. Indeed, you are right. When we were campaigning, we went to our people and they raised the issue of crime very, very seriously. And we have heard them, we have heard them, and that's why we even have this Lekgotla. Even when we were having our NEC before the Lekgotla, we were picking up these areas that communities raise sharply. And we say, community can raise issue about crime, and then we started pointing fingers at each other. That is why in that subcommittee, you have the police, you have the home affairs, you have the defense, you have the justice, you have the intelligence, and everybody. So we have made recommendation. I think as we are sitting here, they're being tabled at the Lekgotla so that they are formally adopted. And as the subcommittee, that's how we'll be able to assess our deployees to ensure that what we promise that we will do. And I must say, given from the answers that you ask and the answers that were given by our deployees, you can see that we are ready. Even with local government, in our commission, they were complaining about those settlements where there are no streets, there are no lights. You know, how do police then maneuver to get in when there's crime? You know, so local government must then the environmental design. So local government must be able to come in and say, when they plan a settlement, they must make sure that we have the issues at hand. The other one that was also raised is that as you put a light is a deterrent, but also they are stolen, you know, all over. Cables are stolen. So then we decided that maybe we need to look at where do these cables go to, you know, so that we can deal with the source and be able to deal with this matter. So the issues that are set here are very, very urgent. You know, we lost a little bit as the ANC. Now we must serve our people. They told us that what they want. We went to Hanover. There's a lot of gangs and everything. And the other issue, media, you must also assist us. When we do our work, as Comrade Senzo has said, give us space so that we are able to do the work. You will also be victims, like my brother here has been a victim. You know? So you'll be coming to us. You also need protection. We should be able to protect you. I can assure you, as we are starting, for sure you're starting to see that we are serious about the matter. Every day, if you follow the crime or our website, you will see that we are serious about crime. We're no longer even talking about crime. We are serious about it. So give us space so that we are able to fix what is wrong. We have heard our people. We are ready, and we want the partnership. So the partnership also includes you. You know. So I think as spokesperson, we have said all that we wanted to say, or also to say that even correctional service is part of us, because your besters issue commit a crime inside the correctional services. So we are really tightening up and making sure that we do our work in terms of combating crime, GBV, and corruption. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Wendy. Okay, guys, it's lunchtime. We will be back with the economic cluster after lunch. Thank you very much for your indulgence.